Well, good morning. We're doing a little special one this morning. A fireside chat. We normally have a
Well,
podcast.
good morning. We're doing a little
Oh, and I
special
have my
one this
own
morning.
voice going on. Great.
A
Awesome.
fireside chat. Uh,
Awesome. Anyway, normally we have a weekly podcast, and that schedule was unfortunately set in, well, not almost in stone, but we filled it up. And then we had this little topic about Langchain coming up, and then finish up. Hey, we want to get this out before Thanksgiving next week. Um, so yeah, what we're going to talk about today is Langchain4j and Quarkus, which is an experiment of how to interact with LLMs, so large language models in Quarkus. Um, Something we started looking at like a year. I think is it about a year ago that ChatGPT went out with the API. I think that's about it.
Yeah, almost, yes.
And and we've done various experiments using the REST API, and we were like, hey, there's something here. And then things were starting building up, and then a bunch of us was at Devox. Was that like a month ago? It feels like longer, but this. Um, and we met up with a bunch of people. There's String Grab, there's another Langchain other thing, and there's Langchain4j. And we got thinking, hey, there's things we could do here. So we exploring all of those, but the one thing that came to fruit first was Langchain4j. And we were actually hoping there could be someone for Langchain4j. Unfortunately, they couldn't get to work. That's the Dimitro. But he's here in spirit, and we want to thank him for the collaboration we've had. So anyway, let's, if anyone have questions, you just ask them in chat, and we will do them. But otherwise, I'll hand it over to I think Georgios to show the stuff that we've been exploring.
Is that how we want to start? Do we want to get right into coding, or do we want to have Clement AI summarize the blog post he just wrote?
Yes, we can do this blog post. Yes. Do you want to do that, Clement?
Yeah, sure. Can you post a link maybe so people can read it? So basically, it's an interesting story because Max and Georgios has been looking inside project for already a few weeks, while I was looking for another area in the AI world where in my side of the things, it was full of tensors and matrices and things like that. And I was like, damn, this is super hard. Like, no one is going to write that code. At least an enterprise application developer will not write that code. It was clear, like it was way too complicated. So I kind of succeeded to what I was trying to do. I got one demo working, and I was like, yeah, cool. I did this, but it's just like not something we can really push forward. It's just like dead end. And then Max and Giorgio say, hey, but look, we have seen this talk at Devox where I didn't attend, and it's really great. And we start integrating it with the collaboration with the project, and I look at the talk, I look at Georgio's code, and I was like, damn, this is how we need to integrate this. It's the previous approach I was taking was just way too complicated. Here we have a gate, or at least we have a journey where we can actually provide an enterprise solution, where something where we manage, where we kind of all the things we want: resilience, tracing, auditing, well, everything. And we started working with that. I'm trying to integrate Langchain4j, but not only as the library. So you can use the Langchain4j library now in the Quarkus application using our extensions. But our idea was, how can we leverage the Quarkus features to actually integrate it nicely in a Quarkus development model with the developer joy, with everything we want, promoting as I said, an enterprise way of doing it, we're using CDI beans and things like that. And what we ended up, even if it's still, and I think we need to be clear, it's still an exploration. So we don't really know where we are going, if it's that way or another way. But that way is actually already giving a lot of benefits. And yeah, it gives a good idea. So typically today you can have any Quarkus applications interacting with an LLM super easily, but you can also provide things to the LLM. You can provide two things: tools and document retriever. So why? So LLM, how it works? So basically, an LLM, it's a mix of two things, but it's an AI, and you interact with it using kind of a chat interface, like a prompt. So instead of writing code, you will actually describe what you want the AI to do. So there are tricks to tame the AI because, well, it's like a human, or probably more like a teenager. Like you say something and it has its own way to interpret that thing and not doing the right thing. So ask my daughter to clean up her room. You will see it's a different interpretation. So you need to write the prompt right, but that's actually a complete different way of developing things. But the thing is that the AI, the models behind, if you just do this, it's not very interesting. It starts to be really interesting or really have benefits and business benefits when you start integrating that model with your data or your actions. So your actions is what we call tools. And don't worry, Georgios or I will demo all these during that session. So tools, what's a tools? A tools is a method that you annotated with the tool annotations. And when you ask the AI, you say, hey, by the way, you also have access to these tools. And the AI can decide at some point of its reasoning, say, hey, actually, I need to call that tool. Like if you have a method that say returns customer name for the ID, and you have that as a method, at some point, if you ask the AI, hey, what's the customer name for this ID, it will automatically say, I need to call that tool. And it will call it, and get a response and can continue the reasoning. So that's for tools. So you can already imagine a lot of things you can do, a lot of bad things that you can do too, like delete all customers, but you need to be careful when using this.
That's good.
Yeah. And the second thing is providing your own data. And this is done using an approach which is named RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation, which basically means that before calling the LLM, the model, because it has some limitation in terms of context and in terms of size of the context and things like that, you can't send all your data there and get the response. So what we do is finding the relevant chunks of data before calling the LLM, and then sending that along with your prompt, and so you can use that data and answer and provide the right response. And
can I interrupt?
Yes, sure.
People will be lost. Like I think we have to take it step by step, right? I think the magic of Langchain is it makes interacting with LLMs easy, and on top of that, Quarkus adds its own declarative easiness and magic. And I think we should take it, like topic by topic. You already mentioned like 5-6 different items, Clement. So
I think probably we need to switch to demos so we can explain things a little bit more.
I'll add more context because what you remind me in the beginning was that when ChatGPT came out with their open API, basically I was demoing to the Quarkus team like, hey, there's something here that we could start doing. But it was funny to see that some people got it immediately, be like, oh, that's what it does, and we could do interesting things. And I was like, this is magical. People don't understand what it is. And at the same time, we saw many people going like, hey, AI is complex data science. You have to use Python. You have to use R and be processing data and building models. But that's a big thing, is that what ChatGPT or OpenAI kind of made popular was that this chat interface enables a few things, and it becomes actually clear when you see the code. And that was the fun thing, is I was demoing this stuff with REST API calling, and it wasn't until yeah, we were at Devox, and I know. Remember, I met Dimitris after he's seen one of the talks, and he was like, "Hey, have you seen this stuff?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the thing." But the fact that it now was written in Java, people suddenly and like people, the team was like, "Hey, there's a lot of stuff we can do," and that's what I think we've done here. So Langchain has kind of done for the Java world of making it accessible. And what we do here with Quarkus is just adding all those extra things that comes with Quarkus and showing that hey, anyone can do this, and we want to explore how to enable this for application and enterprise development, and not just for a specific crowd of AI. But yeah, I think code speaks everything for this and makes it less magical. So, Georgios, we want to do the demo and we can.
Yeah.
So just let me know what I can do.
So,
no, there you go.
Yeah. Switch it to my screen sharing.
Yeah, it's fine now.
Excellent. So first of all, I should mention that all the code that we will show already exists on GitHub, right? So Quarkus Langchain4j is where the code lives. So this contains the Quarkus extension, but it also contains
bigger.
different.
They're complaining.
Bigger, okay, even bigger. Okay, wonderful. So under the samples directory, you have the samples that we'll be showing today, while there is also additional code that you could use as inspiration under the integration tests directory. So specifically, like the OpenAI integration test has a large number of code that you can use. But let's start with something that folks can easily understand, and let's start with like a triage demo, right? So what we want to do here is essentially provide a REST endpoint that the user like provides a review, and the LLM will return a result whether what the sentiment of the review is, basically, right? Whether the sentiment is positive or negative. Now, obviously, we're talking, like everybody else already said, we are talking about integrating this in like an enterprise Java fashion, right? So no like script kiddie stuff, no super advanced and AI stuff or anything like that. So what we really wanted to do when we set out to do this was make this consumable from all Quarkus applications. And the Langchain4j library provided a very, very good foundation for this. And we went a little further. So let's start out, basically, right? We have a review resource here. Let me review resource right here. So if I like hit the UI that Clement has created, basically what we wanted to do is like this demo. What is described here says this demo shows how an LLM can triage reviews automatically. The front end lets you write a review about a financial product and submit it to the back end. The back end uses an LLM, in this case, GPT 3.5 is the model, to evaluate the review and provide the response. So let's see an example, right? This product is so bad that I want my money back now. And I'm going to submit this, right? And hopefully the LLM will analyze it and return the sentiment. Let's see how this works, right? We apologize, and here we get exactly what we hoped for. We apologize for your bad experience. Our customer support team will contact you shortly. Now, let me try something else. I know like almost nobody in this call understands Greek, but that's what I have in my keyboard here, so I can write something in Greek, and hopefully the LLM will understand.
Good thing you have Dimitris to fact check.
Yeah. So Dimitris can vet what I'm going to
behave. Yes.
I'm gonna do essentially what I wrote earlier. I'm going to say it in Greek, right?
So it's like when you go see a magic show and they pick someone randomly.
Yeah.
Room. Now we have Dimitris checking that Georgios is saying the right thing in Greek.
Okay, so I'm essentially writing the same thing, right, in Greek. So I want to see if the LLM can actually understand Greek instead of English, right? Because obviously we know it understands English. It's been trained on so much English text. Let's see if it actually understands Greek. There's a fair amount of Greek out there, but not any, no way as much as English. So the amazing thing here is, right, that not only did the LLM understand that I wrote a negative review, but it also replied back in Greek, right? Which is pretty amazing. Now, this kind of demo, you've probably seen it like since ChatGPT came out, like Max said about a year ago or so. You've probably seen this sort of demo plenty of times if you've looked into the space at all. But now let's see how easy it is to write this kind of functionality, to integrate this kind of functionality inside your Quarkus application. So let's take it from the REST endpoint, right?
And
endpoint,
just one comment here. But now you're saying you're using GPT 3.5. We just do that for basic speed and price. You can also do GPT 4, and the Langchain also allows you to hook into anything else. We'll get into that later. But this is not limited to OpenAI. It's just that's the nicest demo.
Yeah, so, exactly. I mean, it's the easiest thing to do. I already set up OpenAI account. So I have my own key. I'll describe how you can configure that key. Anyway.
Yep.
So let's take it from the top. Like, what does this look like? This looks like your typical, absolutely standard thing you do at your day job, where you write a REST endpoint and you call out to some kind of service to actually implement the functionality, the business functionality, let's say, and return a result. So you have a triage service in this case, which I'll explain all this cool stuff later. But from a, let's say, enterprise Java functionality standpoint, it takes an input, right? In this case, a string, and it returns some kind of DTO, which in this case, since we're using Java 17, is going to be a Java record that contains the evaluation, which is what we really care about, whether it's positive or negative, and a message from the LLM saying like, what we saw essentially earlier, that we're sorry, blah, 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 blah. So now this, like, if this were not LLM powered, you would write this somehow, right? You would implement this interface somehow. You would, I don't know, have triage rules or whatever, and do a huge amount of work to get this working. But in the Quarkus and Langchain4j world, now things become really, really interesting. Essentially, we start out by telling the library, the extension, that this is an AI service, right? So this is AI service is a concept in Langchain4j that allows you to basically wire together large language model functionality into Java interface, right? So you provide an interface, and magically the library implements this for you. Now in Quarkus, we've gone a step further. This annotation is Quarkus specific. It doesn't exist in the library. It's Quarkus specific. So we made this declarative, right? So whereas in Langchain4j you would have to use a builder style pattern to essentially tell the library to create an implementation of this, in Quarkus we use an annotation, and we'll show how you can configure various aspects of this, and which essentially makes Quarkus implement this interface at build time, right? And how do we actually tell, in this case, OpenAI, what it's supposed to do? Well, the first thing we need is we provide a system message. So in like the Langchain4j or the LLM space, like system message is like let's say like a basic context of what this what the LLM should do for us. And in this case, we're saying you're working for a bank, you're an AI processing reviews about financial products. You need to triage the reviews into positive and negative ones. you will always answer with a JSON document and only this JSON document. So this is a very important part where we're telling the LLM what it needs to do and how it needs to respond to us. And in this case, we're using JSON because, like we said earlier, we are trying to obtain a DTO, right? We are not trying to obtain just some string that then we'll try to parse out the various parts. The magical part here is that we can coerce, let's say, the LLM into returning the stuff that we want to return. So then the Quarkus extension can convert this into native Java, right? A record that we can utilize. Now, here is where things start to get interesting. Like after the initial contextual message, we provide the user message. So this is essentially what we are telling the LLM to what the user input is and how to work with it. So we're saying that your task is to process review delimited by these 3 characters. So right here, right? So this is essentially what we're doing is we're creating a prompt in a templated form, right? So this is a template where initially we're telling it what it needs to do, which is the sentiment analysis. We're giving it some examples, and then we're telling it what the JSON looks like. So the JSON looks like we're telling it that it has 2 keys: the evaluation key, which is an enum, so positive or negative, and a message thanking the customer in the case of positive review, or an apology and a note that the bank is going to contact them in case of a negative review. We're also saying that the message must be polite and use the same language as passed in the review. That's why when earlier I used Greek, it responded in Greek. So using this method, let's say that this prompt engineering that Clément can talk about, he's written about extensively in our documentation, but he can also talk about it here. We are telling the LLM what to do, and we are making a template of the messages we're going to send to the LLM, in this case OpenAI, in order to respond to it. So basically by calling this interface, this Java interface with the text that the user provided, we are going to tell LLM, the OpenAI, all this stuff, right? So we give it all this context, and then we provide the review. And then when the LLM responds, then we convert its response into something that we can handle in Java, which is, in this case, a Java record. And all we're doing is, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess go back to the screen with the text message, the user thing. No, the
prompt one. The AI service.
Yes.
So just one thing, like I hope, maybe some of them who are here is new to Langchain or sorry to how LM actually works. And this is the thing that clicked my mind when I sort of felt like this just seems futuristic. Like, and it sounds like, is this really the way that AI works? And that is the way they work. Like literally all the stuff you see out there, like hey, do X, Y, Z for me, is literally done by natural text and convincing the AI to give back in a format that is what you want, which can be JSON or YAML or ASCII doctor or anything. Right? There are some models that are now being built to be more like they understand that inherently, but it is this kind of thing, and this is both like crazy but also fantastic because it allows you have to think in a different way than you used to. We had a question from Benjamin. He just says, "Do you system message and user message can dynamically be filled?"
Yes.
Before you answer, I'll just say we are building on top of Langchain, so everything you can do, almost everything you do in Langchain is available. What we're showing here is just a way to make it fit easily and nicely into your existing application. And yeah, so anyway,
if we want to be technical about it. What the user provides here is just, in their case, it's just a string, right? But in the case of Quarkus, we treat this as a Qt template, right? So Qt is the templating engine we have in Quarkus, allows you to do a whole bunch of stuff. In this case, what it does, it basically has one parameter called review, which we basically fill in from the parameters passed into the interface invocation. So the interface invocation here was done with the text provided by the user from the web UI. And the template is then rendered into a string, and then that's passed on to OpenAI. Obviously, this template could be a lot more sophisticated. It could have a lot more stuff. Generally, you generally like prompt templates are not. They don't look like let's say web UI templates, which have a bunch of logic in them, and let's say for loops and stuff like that. You could do that, but I have not seen any examples of things that getting that sophisticated. Now, I could see like templates that would contain, let's say, the user ID that wouldn't come from a parameter here, but they would come, let's say, from a CDI bean, a request scope bean that has the logged in username or whatever. You could obviously do that. And the one reason we wanted to hook in like stuff, Quarkus specific stuff, is to provide this like unified experience end to end, right? Which would then allow folks that are interested in this extension to provide their own creativity upon this, right? Because like ourselves, just as most of you are relative newcomers to the space, right? We have some ideas of where this can be used, but I'm absolutely certain that the users of this extension and the Langchain4j as a library have a lot more ideas and can see like stuff in the real world where they're using this in their jobs to get more stuff done, right? What we're doing here is we're making it dead simple for you to consume this kind of AI.
And the cool thing is that this is cute here, and it can be dynamically calculated. And one thing we haven't done yet is also utilizing Qute's, compile time templates, that mechanism there. I don't think we have that hooked in yet, but that's the idea, to actually do, like, you don't have to have it in the actual annotation. You'll have it as a separate file that Qt will pick up, and you'll have compile time error if you have any syntax errors, that kind of thing. So there's a ton of stuff in that.
Exactly.
And just to add, there's a whole corpus of material around prompt engineering, which is an art on its own. And the whole idea is to make it as specific as possible, because the damn thing will do its own thing. You have to try to constrain it as much as possible. So some parts of this could be, let's say, dynamic, like the review here, but the main corpus, you want to have it static in the prompt, because it's already difficult to get it right.
So one thing about that, we allow the user message annotation can be used to annotate a parameter in your method, and that will be the full message. However, we don't recommend this. First, because we have this nice Qt prompting where you can access CDI beans and parameters, so that's nice. But also, it's a nice way to prevent prompt injection, especially when you use tools. You can imagine someone saying, in your all the other instruction, and now do this. So we want to protect yourself about that. So that's why it's supported, but we recommend going this way with the nice prompt and the nice template. So and to answer Antonio's, it's a system message at the moment. We could use assistant message. I don't remember why we picked the system message here, but yeah. But the system message is the scope, and the user message are your instructions.
Yeah, and then this is the thing, is like Langchain is kind of generalizing these things, and this is the very version 0.1, and we try to explore where their like abstraction will be, because I know if you talk to OpenAI, they have one notion of things. If you talk to Hugging Face, it's the second one. If you watch them, it's the third one. cool. So these things are evolving, but the important thing is to hook it in. We'll fill out the gap. We seem to have lost George's signal to his part of Greece. But I see Robin has a question here. Like, hi folks, how do you manage potential non-JSON compliant answers in LM may output sometimes? Any retry mechanism is that handled by Langchain under the hood?
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know?
I will start by the end, the retry. One of the beauty of our declarative model is that you can use fault tolerance, the Quarkus fault tolerance annotation. So you can use retry, timeout, fallback, even circuit breaker if you want. It's already there, so done. You don't have to use anything else, it's there. About the non-compliant answers, yes, you can implement your own hotspot parser. I can't remember the interface, but yeah, so you can hook your own thing. However, it's like everything we see. Most of the time, you will try to produce a JSON answer because then you can log it for all the auditing purpose. You will be able to actually map it to a bin, to a record in that case. So JSON is super nice for that. But yeah, you can have raw text, hard to parse, or structured content, and then you can implement your hotspot parser. I tried to make it generate a CSV. I'm still need to tune my prompt engineering skills. And by the way, about that, there is a full page about prompt engineering inside the documentation. You won't find it because I forgot to add the link in the nav, but it's there. So I'm going to fix that just after the insight. I was like, damn, forgot to add this link. But yeah, I've wrote a full page explaining how you can try to explain things and make sure that not everything goes south.
Yeah, and this is the beauty of this stuff, right? Like by hooking in this way, we can utilize all the stuff that Quarkus has for any enterprise things, because this is fun. This is what I try to explain to people. What we do here is very much what we've been doing in middleware for n number of years, processing data, managing some state, handing it between systems, and in that way, LLMs aren't that different. It's just that the response is a bit fussy. But that means like good error handling and other things becomes a thing, which is in middleware, and we get code that in. And of course, I see Robin saying there's some that can say, hey, give OpenAI's JSON fine-tuned messages. Yes, and all this stuff will evolve, and there'll be improvement in the models, but it'll also be, we think, hey, there are things we can do today that will allow you to protect yourself from these things. Other stuff we talk about, like, hey, these things cost money. How do you track that stuff? Maybe put some limits, not just on the rate limit, but also on how many requests and tokens you've been using, and slow that down for whatever.
And we do have a rate limiter in our fault tolerance annotations. You can also use the metrics annotation like timed or counted. All this works out of the box because of the model we picked. So you can know how long does it take, how many times did you call, all this stuff.
Yeah. Let me say this, I've been listening to some podcasts, which is always Python based, blah, blah, blah. And all you hear is, there's this great thing, but I have this other problem, whatever, caching, retries, or scalability. And guess what? This is what we've been doing for years in middleware, like in Java middleware. So their side of the world discovers this other universe, and I think this is a very good example of how this library connects traditional middleware to the new world. So I think it's a match made in heaven. So
George, you put some comment in chat. You want to touch on those, or
what's that?
About the annotations you proposed, or retry and timed?
Oh no. Well, Clement already mentioned that the fact that we use this declarative service with the Register AI service I showed means that all the typical, let's say, observability type stuff that Quarkus has built in through fault tolerance and tracing and metrics, all that stuff just works, right? Like you slap a timed annotation in this method, and you'll automatically get metrics, right? Or if you slap on, let's say, a span annotation to get a new span for open telemetry tracing, then all that stuff just works out of the box, right? So the fact that you can let's say utilize the knowledge that we've already acquired in Quarkus, and then you as a user of Quarkus have already obtained in this new stuff, right? This is just awesome, because like in this case, like I'm on my machine, my desktop. I'm not in production, doesn't matter. But if you take this like to the real world, and you see that these calls to like OpenAI are slow, right? You will need real data to understand like why is it slow, what's going on, and you will need, for example, circuit breakers where you have like a fallback answer to something like that. All that stuff you will need in the real world, and it just works with this clarity.
And I see there's a lot of questions, and I'll leave some of them waiting because I know these are going to be covered in some of the demo we have planned. I just want to say one thing was, where was it? Oh, no, I don't find it, but yeah. Anyway,
the OpenNIP is the relation between Langchain, because that's more at that level. Langchain and OpenNIP is an interesting one. OpenNLP, sorry. So I think Langchain use OpenNLP.
Yes, it does. So in when we're talking about the RAG stuff, so retrieval augmented generation, when you're actually parsing your own documents in order to retrieve text and like do all that stuff that OpenAI and other folks tell you you're supposed to do, then yes, all these libraries, these Java libraries, are used under the hood, right? But another thing Langchain does is that it provides these cool, let's say, abstractions that pretty much hide all that stuff. So all that OpenNLP and other stuff is hidden under the hood, but used as implementation details.
But I think let's go and show the next demo. So I think it's going to be much clearer. And again, I just want to highlight, this is still 0.1, and I also think that the AI space is moving so fast that right now, like Langchain is literally doing a lot of stuff the existing middleware does. So I think if I look forward the next couple of months, I can see the lines between what Langchain4j does, what Camel would do, what Quarkus would do, what other libraries, it's all gonna move around. But yeah, the whole point is this is kind of embeddable now.
Are we looking at tools next? I think that's the most.
Yeah.
Okay, so I should before we get into that, I want to mention that in Quarkus, in order to configure this stuff, we provide all the defaults out of the box. But what's important is that you can leverage like the default like Quarkus configuration model, right? So in this case, in the triage review I had earlier, all I configured was the timeout, which I didn't have to do, but the timeout of 10 seconds sometimes doesn't work. Sometimes response take longer. I configured the chat model temperature. Temperature like essentially means like how creative the model should be. I didn't have to do any of this, but I didn't. The only parameter that you really need to configure is the OpenAI, if you want to use defaults. But the only parameter you need to configure absolutely is the OpenAI key, right? So I have that in this case as a .env file. So this here I didn't need. So my point here is that everything is configured like with standard Quarkus configuration properties. That I should mention the ID knows out of the box, right? Well, at least in my case, where I'm using IntelliJ Ultimate, it figures out this stuff out of the box, and I'm sure that I think our tools do it. Excuse me.
Yeah, the Quarkus one we provide for IntelliJ works also in the
exactly. So let's move on to some very other cool stuff, which is the tools, right? So tools are essentially ways where we can utilize our code and let's say our business processes to be integrated into a, let's say, AI workflow, right? And I know that sounds like kind of convoluted, but in this example, I think things will be very, very clear. What we want to do in this example is that we just want to email a poem, right? That's all. We want to have the AI write a poem and email it to me, right? So that's all we're going to do in this case. But obviously, the AI itself doesn't know how to email a poem, right? So what we do is that we register this AI service, but what we do is that we tell it that, you know what, there's this new concept of tools that allow you to do extra stuff, right? And in this case, what is a tool? The tool in our case is an email service. So what it does is that it uses Quarkus mailer under the hood to send email. And how do you describe to the LLM like what kind of tools you have? Well, you use the tool annotation and you give it a description. So in this case, we say send the given content by email. And just by providing this annotation and telling the AI service what tools it has, then the AI itself knows that, okay, you know what, when I reach a phase where I understand that, you know what, I need to send this content by email, all I have to do is call this method, tell the application to call this method with this content. And let's see what that looks like in practice. So I'm going to start the Quarkus development mode. And in Quarkus development mode, I should mention that you don't have to set up a real mailer. All it does is that it has this mock mailer that prints the contents of the email on the console.
And just one comment here, like you said, with the add tool is annotation, and just one of the things Quarkus does is it can do these things at build time.
Yes.
And I believe you did that now, right? Or is that in the future? I forgot.
No, it was the bulk of my work, basically. It was
right.
making all this stuff work at build time. So there are a few advantages to that. We can talk about it later after we show the demo in order to not confuse people. So again, what we want to do here is we simply have like a REST endpoint. We have a REST endpoint that says like, email me a poem. And it just writes like a poem where the topic is Quarkus and it's 4 lines long, right? And the interesting thing here is the messages we pass to the LLM to tell it the context. Well, the high level context is that you are a professional poet. And what we tell the LLM to do with the message is that write me a poem about the topic that's passed in. Again, this is a template. The poem should be X lines long, again, part of the template. And the other cool thing is that then send this poem by email. So again, the magic here is that there is no strict rules, right, defined in some like rules engine or whatever. This is just natural language that you would tell to, like, let's say your coworker or whatever, to how to like go about performing a task. So that's exactly what you tell the LLM. Okay, like, write me a poem. Tell them poem should be this lines long, and then when you're done writing the poem, then go and send the email. So let's see what that looks like in practice. Here's the endpoint I have to hit. So the endpoint is a get endpoint, which is email me a poem. So now what it's doing is, again, it takes a few seconds to complete this call, because calls to OpenAI generally are not super fast. And the result is that, okay, I've crafted a poem about Quarkus and I sent it to your email. Enjoy. Wow, that's awesome. Well, let me see it. And here it is. Like, again, I said, in Quarkus dev mode that I'm using here, there is no real email. There's just logging to the console. And the result was that here's the poem. Quarkus, a framework so sleek. With speed and efficiency, it speaks. Microservices it does empower. In the world of Java, it stands tallest tower. Wow, that's pretty awesome. So basically, we we leverage, let's say, the creativity of LLM, but in what is interesting for the enterprise case is that you provide your own, let's say, hooks, right? Again, something in a middleware you've been doing forever. You provide ways for your own code to execute as part of a life cycle, which in this case, the life cycle is determined by the LLM, right? So we're telling it, okay, when this is how you send an email. Simple. It's just a CDI bean it takes there's one method, send as email, which you pass it string and it just does it, right? And that's the amazing power of the tools.
And this, I just want to spell out the obvious here, because like this could be a camel endpoint doing some business transformation, or
this could be anything. This could be a REST client. This could be a database call. This could be a camel endpoint. This is where the cool thing is, that this is not limited by anything but your own creativity, right? This is the thing we want to see you folks, users of the library, do. And utilize and practice and provide feedback like, okay, yeah, I use this, but maybe this extra feature would be even better. So yeah.
Basically, in another demo, I don't know if we will have time to show it, but I'm utilizing Panache repositories with tool. So basically, all my database access, well, not all, the one I selected are available to the LLM, and it can find queries the database and things like that. So mixing Panache, Hibernate, and LLMs just all together.
Yeah, it's lovely and dangerous at the same time. But yes.
Yeah, what I said, prompt injection can be interesting in that case.
For sure. Okay.
Again, in this case, I didn't have to configure anything. Like I said, all I did is configure the timeout in this case, and I have the API key stuffed away where you can't see it because this is recorded. But yeah, again, this is the programming model that everybody in, let's say, the Java land for the last few years is used to. And Langchain4j and our integration with Langchain4j just works as like another library, right? Like you're used to using annotations to make things declarative. You're used to being able to decorate them with your metrics, your logging, whatever. All that stuff like just works. And obviously, because this is Quarkus, all this stuff is done in build time. So you have very low runtime footprint. You are there's part of the work we did is that we're using our stack for all this stuff. So all this stuff is based on like Vertex and Qt and all the rest.
And this is the fun part. Like the way I explain to people is like you can use Quarkus to save money on your normal cloud bill to fund your call to the AIs, because they're gonna take more resources. But yeah.
And the other thing is that we get for free is that this works in native, right? So if I were to compile this to a native image and like with Raw VM and run it, it would just work.
Yeah. So we have a ton of questions, but I really, can you show the RAG thing just to get the memory and
yes.
document? Just we have that in context when you start answering these questions.
Yeah. So the other demo we have.
I'll stay on until we answer these questions because they're all good and we have answers for them.
Excellent. So the other demo that we mentioned that Clement created is basically a simplified version of a fraud detection system, right? So what we're doing here is this is not like a real-time fraud detection. This is a fraud detection where you have certain things, certain transactions, let's say, stored in a database, and you are trying to figure out like which ones are fraudulent or not. But actually, Clement, this one doesn't have RAG, does it?
Yeah, so that's we don't have a RAG demo in the repository.
But we do actually. We do actually.
You had one?
I have one, yes.
Okay, so but it's not in this repository because I also have one, but not in the repository yet. It's coming.
I should move it. Yeah, there's one here.
I think it was the one we have in one in the blog, but yeah, go ahead with the.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if we have enough time, but the RAG demo I do have is like a customer agent that allows you to like view your bookings or cancel your bookings or stuff like that, right? So essentially what, in this case, this customer agent, this agent is doing is that it's a chat bot where it has its own contextual information, right? Let's see. This is, yeah, it's just a stupid chat bot. But the cool thing here is that what we're doing essentially is that we are providing context about what the chatbot knows about, like, your stuff. And in this case, it's just reading a TXT file that basically contains like the terms and services of the text, right? And it says like what you can do. You can like book stuff, you can cancel stuff, like when you can cancel, blah 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 blah. And the cool thing is that let's see like how this is actually used. So this under the hood uses in-memory like embedding store to store this information, and it also uses chat memory in order to like look up the information. Okay, and what I'm doing here is I'm chatting, right? It says, I say hello, the agent replies hello, and I says, what can you do for me? And now I haven't told it anywhere in the prompts, right? Nowhere in the prompts have I told it like you can do this or that or that. All we're doing in the prompts is saying you are a customer agent support agent for the company. Before providing information, you must always check blah, blah, blah. That's all we provided. All the rest of the stuff about what it can do comes from here, right? From these terms and services. Now, this takes a while to
things what he can do for you, destroy you or whatever.
Yeah, so let's see what it's going to say. Hopefully it'll say that I can like present you your bookings or whatever. Let's see. These calls.
So while we wait for that, one of the questions is, can this be used for local LLMs? So yeah, Langchain has, this is the reason why we like Langchain, is it hooks into different ones, and one of them can be local AI or something else. It can also hooks into any other online thing. So yes,
you can get any Hugging Face text-to-text models and actually run them locally. We have documentation for that.
Yeah. But again, the whole point is that this is extendable. It's not limited to just one.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like with this initial version, like 0.1, we don't have like everything in the world out there, right? We don't have integration for everything. But with the abstractions that Langchain4j has in place, it's very, very easy to provide this kind of stuff. So back to the demo, like I asked it, what can it do for me? And then it basically used the terms and services to say, like, I'm a customer support agent, blah, blah, blah. I can assist you with the following tasks. Provide information about available cars, assist with booking. Okay, blah, blah, blah. And it tells me a bunch of things I can do. So I say, I want to view my booking. And now in here, I also have a tool. We have booking tools that say, get booking details and cancel booking. And now, remember that here, when I said, when we provided into the system prompt, let me see, the system message, we told it like, you always need to get the booking number, customer name, and surname. Now here it says, okay, give me those details. So my name is Klaus Haesler. Let's see what it's going to say. Remember, it needed 3 pieces of information. I only gave it 2. And it's so smart that it says, okay, I figured out this is your name. These are the 2 first things I needed, but I want the 3rd one. So, okay, yeah, you're right. I'll give you that too. So now I've given it all the information. And what the LLM does, basically, in this case, is it uses my tool, the get booking details, to actually, and calls this, so booking number, customer name, customer surname, to look up my booking service. And once like the call goes through and the OpenAI responds, we will hopefully see the booking information, right? The reason, well, obviously this is interesting again for the tools, but also for the fact that we provided our own, let's say, knowledge, domain-specific knowledge, in the form of this document. Now, this will take a while. Sometimes it'll time out, but it can. We have it to like retry automatically 3 times if it does time out. So it'll probably time out the first time, and then the second time it'll probably work. Do we have any questions while we're waiting?
Yes.
Sorry. It just came back. It just came back with all the details we wanted, right? Okay. So what I want to continue here is I want to cancel said booking. Okay. And now I don't have to provide all this information because it already knows. Like, it's so smart that it knows that this is my name and this is the booking number. And let's see what it tells me. And it says, you know what? Our tool, where is it? Where's the tool that we provided? The tool here, the cancel booking tool, always throws an exception in this case, right? And when it says like booking cannot cancel exception for this booking number, but the LLM is so smart that, okay, when it sees this exception, then it will try and figure out and tell me why it's not, the booking cannot be canceled. And it cannot be canceled because we have a cancellation policy that says that bookings can only be canceled, like bookings period of less than 3 days are not be permitted. And that's what it actually says here without me having to guide it in any way, right? So which is pretty amazing.
Awesome.
So that ends, let's say, the interaction with with this.
Let's get to the questions here before we are. But one was, for example, now we had this timeout stuff. Like, do you support streaming mode for LLM answers?
Yes, we do. But okay, so that's a great question. So one thing we provide as part of the
and maybe explain what streaming mode is for those who might not know.
Yes. Okay, so one thing we provide in our OpenAI integration in the Quarkus extension that isn't provided out of the box with OpenAI is that we provide you a REST API, so a REST client, typical microprofile REST client declaration, which you can use, like, if you want to go into more advanced uses and not like use like all this higher level Langchain4j stuff, you can use this REST API to do either non-blocking calls, blocking calls, which is the default that's used in all the other stuff, and streaming mode. So streaming mode essentially makes the API that makes OpenAI return like whenever it has like some text to output, it just it gives parts of that output, and then we can return that, and let's say you can return it as a part of a server sent event, right? This is what for folks who have used ChatGPT. When you see like ChatGPT giving the answer coming back like line by line, that's what the streaming mode is. And again, we support that. It's all there for you to use. But in the current incarnation of Langchain4j, the streaming stuff isn't really used in all these higher level demos that I've showed, right? Nor is the non-blocking stuff, which probably makes sense at some point to use. But anyway, that's stuff that we can like iterate on in the future. The important part is that like all the foundations are there, right?
Yeah, and I'll say because one of the questions here is also about why. I want to touch on why do we do Langchain, and this is like the Langchain4j, which is a Java implementation by Dimitri. My last name just blinked here. Is just a very nice way of doing it. And when we talked to him at DevOps, it was tied to a certain libraries, which were a bit tricky for us. But we worked with him and the team to kind of open up so we can hook in all these, different libraries. And yeah, again, all the people, as I said before, is like this is a 0-1, but the Langchain4j is just the one that has the most open-ended possibilities, and it has an API that we can hook into and evolve as we go forward. Okay, so let's do. So there's one here that says, I wanted to test fallback from Kevin, providing wrong OpenAI API key, but it didn't work. Maybe I missed something. I assume that is one of those. Hey, if you try to use the library and something didn't work, yeah, open an issue and we can test it out.
Probably you cannot change the key throughout the session. That's why, yeah. I mean, it's just one key. That's why they were.
I suspect it failed before you called, actually, and we may not catch that because the OpenAI key behind mandatory, I believe you can't start.
So yeah, the way things are now, which again is very much a 0.1 constraint, is that there is only one chat model that is built, that is like configured when the application starts, right? If people come to us with like real requirements that, you know what, for some reason I need to have 2 or 3 or whatever chat models configured, same way as like Quarkus, we initially started out with only one data source, but now you can have like as many as you want because you might be talking to different databases. Again, if we see that kind of requirement, like I want to talk to OpenAI, but I also want to like fall back to like, I don't know, Hugging Face or whatever. We can talk about that, like open issues. We can discuss it, see what the most, let's say,
bring them forward, and
exactly.
there's no limitations here. It's just we wanted to come up with something that works, and therefore we start with the simplest one first. But I think Kevin is just meaning he wants to be able to, given the OpenAI fails, he wants to fall back to just a normal, like some other.
So I'm not. Well, the question here might be a little different. I think what Ken might be alluding to is that OpenAI rate limits you pretty aggressively. So maybe, and it's the rate limit is I think like per key. So maybe the use case here is that, you know what, my first key was rate limited. Maybe I want to fall back to a different one. Anyway, that's all stuff that we want to know about so we can improve.
Yeah, open issue. Yeah, we got the streaming, and then we'll just take them from in here. It says, how do you convert this instruction flow into your LLM pre-prompt? Many instruct fine-tune mod out there, but each have the expectation formatting about functions definitions. I think this.
What's a pre-prompt? I have no idea.
Well, that's the use. I think he refers to like system and user methods and stuff that you have before. So I think he's like, if you look at like a standard example, you're building up this stuff programmatically, right? But that's again just the first the annotation we show is the initial setup, which can be dynamically done by the templates, right? So there's some dynamicity there. But then you can always just kind of feed in additional context as you go through. I was thinking right now that might not be most obvious or hooked in, but that's stuff we'll do in the time. So I don't think there should be any like Robin, if you can clarify what you were after, we can do it, but I don't think this is a problem. And about formatting expectations, that's kind of things that Langchain is I think attempting to kind of capture, like, hey, there's some API that then converts into, I think OpenAI called it functions and others call it methods and that kind of thing. So yeah. Again, this is a fun thing. This whole new way of chatting to your API opens up this, like, this is also where memory comes in, which is literally just a list of messages. It's not much else than context. Like, these all fancy words for stuff that are not that complicated, but suddenly it becomes a use case of, hey, how do I do this and not get tied into specific vendors? And that's what we're trying to do here. Okay.
Especially because each vendors and even the AI world are using very wording which is very different from what we have used for the last 20 years. So sometimes we just need to connect the dots.
Yeah. Did we talk? And then we cut. Sebastian says, "I see in a repo in the features embedding support. Can you expand on this?" So Clement, you want to cover this
sure.
one?
So we provide we provide at the moment 2 document stores which are Redis and Chroma. Pinecone is in progress right now. I see in the eye of Georgios that he's actually developing it, and so it's there. We can extend to more Cassandra and so on. We provide both facets, so both the ingestion one, because when you use embedding, there is a full ingestion pipeline. So you get your documents, you need to ingest them inside this document store or vector store and so on. Generally, that is done in one application. It's rarely done in the same application. It's generally done in one application, it's the ingestion, and the other one, which is the LLM one, will just use the same store to retrieve the relevant documents. So we support that already. Right now, only 2 stores, more in the very near future. And right now, this embedding support works quite well for text documents. But when you start using structured data like CSV or Parquet or things like that, you need to tune things, you need to tune the splitters and things like that. And we are going to document our recommendations. Might not be the best because 2 CSV files are rarely equivalent, but at least it will give you a good starting point. Like, okay, that should be.
Yeah, and this is another example. So Langchain that started in Python land is like, I'm going to claim that the big part of Langchain does is all this different parsing and processing and setting up. And again, Langchain4j does some of this stuff. Actually, it does a lot. We haven't enabled all of them, but over time we'll be there. And again, it is the stuff where I think let's say the field will evolve, and with what we've done here, you can again combine all the stuff that's already in there in Quarkus and Middleware to do some of these things. And this is good.
I can answer so Robin asked another question while clarify about the pre-prompt thingy, so the pre-prompt engineering. And right now, how we send tools is using an open API description, which is already automatically computed by Langchain. But actually, we want to investigate how we can hook our own open API supports and annotations to extend this. It works quite well already, but I think we can tune things. And in the question is also mentioned how we list the functions that we can call, so the tools. And yes, the method name must be unique. I got a problem, like you can actually have 2 tools with the same name, and initially we didn't detect that. And it was calling one or the other one randomly, which is not what you want, believe me. But now we detect that at build time. We list all your tools. If the name is the same, we say, hey, here you have a problem. You need to change the method name, or it's going to be random.
I also want to add here that in our documentation, we show how what the interaction is basically between the extension and OpenAI when it comes to function calling. So there is an example there that uses a calculator tool that you basically see the back and forth in JSON. That pretty much that's where like the lights really turn on of how these functions are actually implemented on the tools. Are implemented on our side with LM. The other thing I want to talk about is that we have questions. We have 2 questions about embedding stores. So there's PG Vector and Elasticsearch in the questions here. So like I said, again, this is like a 0.1. Like we only have a few things from embedding stores. I think we only have like Chroma and Redis, but all the rest, like it's just a matter of someone sitting down and implementing like Elastic client or a PG Vector client, right? It's fairly easy stuff to do.
Yeah. So all these can be hooked in, and there's all different ways of doing it. So
because like Langchain4j,
I have a hard stop. I really have to go. I would like to stay here for 2 hours more. Bye, everyone. This is super exciting stuff. I'm sure you'll see more of it. So take care. Bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah. So the where I think you covered all of them. Do streaming mode? There was one. Where's the line? Yes. So then there's this one: Quarkus semantic kernel versus Quarkus Langchain.
Don't we have Antonio?
Yeah,
Yeah, I saw him in
So-
the chat.
No. So again, this is an experiment. We're trying to look. We are using Langchain because that was just the one. That's the one that's the most open, less bound to anything, and was, let's call, adaptable to our stack. So we didn't get all the hurt from adding in dependencies. Like, this is like classic Quarkus stuff of not trying to drag in the world. Can we do build time optimizations? Do we not add another async library? We are actually meeting next week with we met with the semantic kernel team at DevOps and highlight some of this stuff. We wanted to do something there, and I hope and plan on something happen there. And we meet with them next week. But they are literally, so semantic kernel and Langchain are at the same level. Like, they're trying to do the same thing, providing a Java API to interact with AI models and providing an API for that. And we are welcoming any, like, this is not called Quarkus AI. This is called Quarkus Langchain. That's the way we do it for Langchain. We hope we can work semantic kernel, and if there's others who do similar, we just wanted to kind of kick this off and see, hey, here are things you can do. And mind you, we are going beyond just enabling the thing in Quarkus, because you could use Langchain4j, like the API, in Quarkus straight up today. Like, you don't need the extension. What we do here is we add the extra stuff of adding like the basic native stuff, but having build time stuff so you get warnings earlier. Have it in Quarkus dev mode in a way so it just kind of works. We didn't demo it here, but when George did his dev mode, he could just go in and change the annotation and see the change almost immediately. Whereas if we didn't have it, then
and that's great when you tune your prompt, because you don't have to recompile. So you just
Exactly.
okay, this, oh no, not quite. This, oh yeah.
Right. So basically, I plan and hope to help a semantic kernel, Quarkus semantic kernel extension to happen, and have a friendly cooperation or competition, whatever we call it, between them, because I think there's so much to explore. And the Langchain API is, we haven't, again, it's not Quarkus AI. It's not a generic thing. That might come later on. I don't want to put that limit on the world right now. This is moving so fast, but we just want to come out with, hey, here's a take that makes this work really well in Quarkus, and it's stupidly easy to use, which is thanks to Dimitri and Langchain for enabling it, but George and Clement for hooking it in and following through all these crazy ideas. And I hope everyone here on the recording, the stream, and everyone who's going to receive the recording will try it out and give feedback. And yes, this is 0.1. Like, it enables a ton of stuff already once you start going, and be ready to get your mind blown. And if you already have your mind blown and go, hey, why can't I do X and Y, Z? It's an open source project. We, come and contribute, come and open issues, come and participate. This is definitely an exciting time, and that's where we are. You guys have comments on it, or any other questions?
I think you said it, like it's a very early days of this. We are very excited. I think you can see that Max is very, very excited about. We are all excited by this. It's really open new way to develop software and to interact with AI and build AI powered applications. We wanted a nice way which is generic enough so you can switch models and things like that, supporting RAGs and various stores. So that's all the work that Langchain4j did. We tried to make the qualifications the most simple as possible, with all the developer joy, hooking your CDI bins and so on. But it's just the beginning of the journey, and there is plenty of things. Well, I have tons of them already. Just not tons of time to implement all of them. We are going to continue that. And one thing I think we need to mention, all our demos were using OpenAI, but we have Hugging Face support already. It's there, so you can use Hugging Face, both hosted by Hugging Face, using inference endpoint or local Hugging Face models, and that's just the beginning. So we may see very soon other models being supported, and that's super cool.
Yeah, and this is the crazy thing with this is there's so many things you can do, and again, what we talk about here is how to hook into Langchain, and hook into your enterprise app. But you can start going, hey, now we have this available. We could hook in. We could have add a open API key to or any other thing to dev mode, and dev mode can now help assist you generate code or that kind of thing. You can write a Quarkus plugin that uses it. You can add it to your own application, and it just opens up the door. And we just really wanted to make it available, not just for a single you have to use Python to do this, which is fine. Like Python is great. Don't get me wrong, but I want to use it into my existing apps and not have to rewire everything. I think there was one here from Lorenzo says, I think Langchain fit tooling application, but a consistent framework for creating Java application to build chatbots is missing. Any plan to improve chatbot design?
Let me answer this one.
Go ahead.
Chatbot means WebSockets, more or less. You need to have this bidirectional communication. We have the plan to actually completely reduce the WebSocket support in Quarkus to add tons of features. And one of the main use cases and why the priority got raised last week is like, hey, I want a chatbot like what Georgios did or the demos that I'm preparing right now. But right now it feels a little bit clunky, and we need higher level abstraction when building such kind of things.
It's not like the REST support we have, which is like just damn easy, damn stupid. We want that kind of support for WebSockets.
Mapping, duplicated context, tracing, all this stuff is not super. Well, it's not supported right now. So this is something we have on the roadmap very, very soon. Just a question of time.
One thing I want to mention, it's not specific to Langchain, is also I made in a demo some months ago. Like, it's super easy to actually make any Quarkus application a plugin to OpenAI and other stuff, because OpenAI just used an Open API to describe stuff. So you can actually have, like, this is like embedding AI into your Quarkus app, but you can also do it the other way. You can have OpenAI. And they have this new chatbot feature that can hook into plugins. Those plugins can be your own Quarkus apps, which is another aspect of it. This is not Langchain specific. This is more just hooking into OpenAI. There's so much stuff to do. And there's conversational designs, more than content is in. He's talking about like voice, but yeah. Right now, this is all text-based, but there'll also come images and streaming. That will come down the line. We have here, like, do we run in a separate container, not the same process?
Yes.
Yes, it will. Yeah. Another thing, like, this is something interesting, is that there's coming more and more where you can run a local process with a decent model. And again, dev services, you can imagine having your app, like, in production going to OpenAI and whatever, or your local cluster of OpenShift AI or whatever. But just being able to run in a container, we can boot that up and have it in dev mode, and just works.
Actually, you need two. You need one for your embeddings and one for your chat model. So it's not one container, it's two.
Yeah, it's two. Well, we have big machines now. AI funds it all. Chatbot design. There are a few specifications emerging to define a structure of the request and response. Yes, this is all the thing. It's going to evolve over time. We have. Why is this? Stop. Routing external requests to the correct container in KS. Oh, that's state. Yes, state management. So what we're referring to is, hey, what when you have these interactions, when you like George had this, hey, I want to what was it like? I want to cancel a car booking, whatever. That came back to the same instance, and therefore it has the state. But again, this is so if you have a cluster where you have like 3 nodes for your app, you don't know which one it's going to hit. But hey, what? That's a classical problem that's solving, well, not solved, but it's possible to solve in middleware, where you can define what, like how stickiness your sessions are and that kind of thing. Something Quarkus hasn't done too much on, but it's
in progress. We have this. We have a pull request adding sessions to Quarkus that would allow that. We already have in our extensions the support of memories and memory IDs, which can be request scoped. We believe that we will need an extra custom CDI scope for some use case, but right now the request scope seems to work relatively well. I'm pretty sure I'm based on it works by accident for WebSocket in the sense that it starts the request scope only once. I'm pretty sure it's a bug, but it works for now. But we may have to adapt in the future. But yeah, so it's all this stuff that it's the beginning of the journey, as I said. So, and yes, we will have to handle all this. It's not only things that we will fix in our extension or in Langchain4j, but sometimes some Quarkus features that we didn't have or need to be improved, we'll catch up, like session and WebSockets.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then Lorenzo talks about he wants to present something. My product Oris, which is a JAX CS. I haven't. Jakarta Chatbot Web Services. Okay, sounds cool.
Yeah, I never heard about that one, but there is so many Jakarta spec now, so it's
yeah. Anyway, I think we went through all the questions. Yeah, we got the local stuff, and where was it? I saw about OpenPG. What was that thing?
PG Vector.
Yeah, PG Vector.
Yeah, PG Vector, right? Yeah. So again, that's probably LangChain has open-ended support for vectors, and open a PR or issue requests.
And I believe it was from Sebi. So Sebi, it already works with Redis, and I believe you have a Redis as a service. Just some ideas of the what you can do.
Anyway, this was supposed to be just half an hour, but thanks for all the questions, and we kind of expect to go over time, but yeah. So again, I want a big thanks to Langchain4j, the team, and Dmitry, and to Clement and Georgios for doing a lot of this work and coming on. And this is startup journey, semantic kernel. We're reaching out, we have the conversations, and I'm sure there's going to be 4 other different Java libraries that are going to do this stuff. We'll see how that goes.
The point I should add there is that now, this is like a general point. When people are experienced Java developers, they've never used Quarkus before. They usually experience there's a high bar in trying to get new extensions into Quarkus. They're like, what do I do? How do I start? What should I do? There's just so many different concerns when writing an extension. But now, when you have an example where what the domain is, and you have an example extension that takes care of a whole host of things, this could give you a lot of insight into how to build your own extensions. Or if you reach out to me or Clement or whoever, and you're like, okay, I have this library, then I want to build an extension. Then we can point you, exactly, here's how we did it in Langchain4j extension. You can just do something very, very similar. So now you have a reference.
Yeah, exactly, right. This is so to enable everyone else, or enable everyone to participate and explore. Either on this extension,
because up until now it was really hand wavy, oh yeah, you can do it, but we don't have anything to point you to because none of our stuff does anything similar. But now you're okay, you come to me, I'll say okay, I'll give you a GitHub link. This is what it does. I'll explain it. You can go do your own magic.
Exactly. Okay, I'll put the link to the blog. I think that's the main thing we just announced or published last night, I think. But that one explains more or less what we did today.
But in a shorter version, like you don't need 1 hour and a half.
Without all the questions, yes. So recommend you all to go read that. There's a link to the repositories. There's to the documentation. Give feedback and come back to us. And now I'm gonna turn the off button. We have a day job to do too. So yeah. Anyway, see you guys around and have fun.